good question. Hi, Chicago! I've been to every one of these. We've had, what, 13, 14 of these things? I've been to every one. So there's nothing I can say that you haven't already heard.
There are some movies here, though.
Are there?
Yeah.
Who's new? Who's gonna be?
They're all in the back.
First 12 times didn't get your attention? You know when the show is still on TV?
Spreading the good word.
Spreading the good word! Next generation of fan. Syndication. Residuals from me. Although, little known fact, according to the internet, I'm worth $215 million.
Where is that?
Because everything on the internet is absolutely true. Yeah, it's in my pocket. Hi!
I was just wondering if you had like a favorite moment or favorite memory on set that you could tell us.
No.
Tiniest best you wanted nothing?
Miserable, I hated those people. I don't know, every day there was always something. I don't have any favorite memories. I mean, we grew up on that set, we all, got married, got divorced, had kids. There was so much life that happened because you're there all the time and everybody's experiencing it with you. So there's no one favorite moment that stands out in my mind. I mean, maybe the time when we found out that the show had gotten picked up for 2 more years midway through the first season was kind of like, wow, this is actually happening. And then after, season 8, we're all like going, that is still happening. But there's no one thing. It was just a really great experience, and it was a long run of the show, and it was nice to see. It's still nice to see everybody. What's great about it is this, we built this franchise that has, people like Peter and Dave Hewlett and Nickel and Calamus and all these guys that are they're part of the family. We never worked together. I never worked with Peter Calamus. I never really worked with, I think, maybe one scene with Dave Nickel and obviously Hewlett. I mean, I tried to forget most of the time I worked with Hewlett. But we created this little family that will carry through, through all eternity, and we have this bond that's special. So there's no one moment, but the whole experience was great and continues to be, even 10 years after the show is finished.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
Hi. So, I forgot to ask you this earlier, but I also asked Gary Jones this. But,
okay.
It was about the puppets and
Yes.
what his initial reaction was to seeing them. How did you feel after you saw, Long Bang's puppet for the 200?
Well, it was really great because we knew, obviously, in advance we had actually staged for the puppeteers. We had staged those scenes, and they used the voices from those scenes to actually, do the puppet scenarios. We'd actually filmed in our street clothes the scenes that were the puppets ended up doing. I mean, we'd also seen Team America, the movie. So we kind of had a rough idea how everything was going to look. We knew it was going to be funny, so it was neat to see it come alive in a different way. I wanted to keep that puppet, but it was worth a lot of money and they wouldn't give it to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
My pleasure.
Yes, this is the last time you'll have to hear me ask this question.
I can't wait.
Yeah. I've actually heard you speak about this at other things. I know how much of a pit fan fiction can be.
What?
Fan fiction, I know how much of
a pit
it can be, but not including some of the explicit and some of the far out there stuff. How do you feel about the fact that MGM has actually allowed authorized fan fiction to be made into books, and then others have also kept it going on some of the other fan fiction sites.
I didn't know that. When did they start doing that? We mean the books that were written?
2006. Yeah, they've taken fan fiction authors and have allowed them to, within certain guidelines, write books. There's like 20 or 30 books out there now.
Oh, I didn't know that those books had started out as fan fiction. I did not know that. Okay. Oh, okay. I learned something new today. I don't know everything.
So my question was just, how do you feel about I know fan fiction can get really explicit, really weird, but yes, we weren't going there with the whole, we weren't going to the slash. But just the concept of keeping the universe going through fans' writings. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. I learned that about, well, I just learned that about the books themselves, so I think that's fantastic. And it's great that the fans feel an attachment to the characters enough to want them to continue to go on adventures in their imagination, which is what the end of the last episode of the unending episode, that's what it was supposed to signify, was that the characters will continue to live on and go on adventures together, and then they can do that in our imagination, so what better way for them to have it come to life? And, I mean, like you said, there's some aspects that I've come to understand by force that is a little darker and of the alternative nature. What? I don't want to describe it. We just know it's darker. Darker. So, but I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Fans want to write about the characters and put pen to paper for what's going on in their imagination. It's great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, Ray.
My question is, how old were you when you got your first big gig? Doesn't matter what it was, but your first big gig.
My first big gig, still waiting for it, Brady. Still waiting for it. Well, I got my first professional job, Brady. I got my first professional job when I was 22. I was still in theater school, and I got my first, guest actor part on a show called The Mish when I was 22. And then Stargate came around when I was about 25. So, yeah. Hey.
Hello. So, Daniel Jackson is the reason I'm currently working on an archaeology degree, so thanks.
There are so many of you out there, and I am so sorry. Did you learn it's not as exciting as we made it, as Daniel Jackson kind of lived it?
Well, I kind of already figured that. I mean, and at least it's less than Indiana Jones.
You say less less Nazis, less blowing shit up, like what?
At least occasionally there's some actual translation and digging.
Right,
and
it's not just
actual work
sword
done
fighting
sometimes.
And
Once in a while.
aliens and crystal skulls. Hey, where have I heard that before? I think they were watching Stargate.
So Dr. Jackson obviously has a lot of PhDs, but if you could get one more in anything from astrophysics to underwater basket weaving, what would it be?
Hockey.
Cooking. So everything doesn't taste like chicken anymore. Can you actually get a PhD in cooking? I don't think that's possible. You can? You can?
Culinary arts.
But a PhD in culinary art? Really? You know a lot of countries. You do? Oh. Okay. I don't know everything. I found my theme for the day. Yeah.
of Amanda Tapping one time as an extra clip where she said that her favorite villain was Apophis because he was her first. So my question is, who's your favorite villain and why?
I don't know, I kind of like Evil Daniel a fair bit. He was fun to play. My favorite villain. I don't know, Ball was a lot of fun, but I liked probably Adria, because for obvious reasons. Yeah, Papa's was not my favorite. No offense to you. But yeah, I think probably Adria. Yeah, there we go.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm a big fan of like Big Finish and Big Finish audiobooks. I love the ones you guys did. Could you talk a little bit about that experience of working with them and doing like Stargate in a different format, genre, and if you'd be interested in coming back or doing something else like that along those lines?
I find the medium a little bit, it's a little bit frustrating because you're oftentimes not working with the other actors. You're, somebody's sort of placeholding and just reading the other lines for their characters, and it's usually all done in a booth, and you're just hearing it like I was doing it on a telephone line because they were being made in England. The first time was a lot easier because I was actually in England and I did the work in England in a recording studio. But the last time we kind of did it like over the phone, which was a little bit frustrating. But knowing the characters and knowing like how Claudia would do the voice and Cliff Simon or whatever, it wasn't that much of a shot in the dark, but it was a very long process and it was quite tedious. Wasn't a ton of fun. So, but of course I do it. I think it's great to bring the characters to life. I mean, even when we did the Stargate Unleashed video game. Was a lot of fun to do, to step into the universe in a different capacity and sort of see how someone is imagining these characters behaving and see what they get absolutely right and what they get absolutely wrong and sort of try and discern the difference between the two to them. And I found that sometimes that could be done easily, sometimes it was a little more difficult because the producer of the audiobooks, I don't think had really watched a lot of the show. And so it was a little bit frustrating to sort of say, Daniel doesn't say that way. She'd be like, well, that's what the line says. And be like, oh, honey. So it had a little bit of frustration to it, but I'd love to do it again. It's still fun, and it's still fun to revisit the universe in whatever capacity.
Great, thank you. Wouldn't you like to hear that? Hear more of that? Kinda sad. Come on. More Stargate? That's better. Thanks.
Pepperoni 5. Oh my God, what are you dressed as?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I have a challenge for you.
A challenge for me.
2. I think I could save more lives than Dr. Jackson has, personally, on the show.
Okay.
Do you think you could give a rough ballpark how many Dr. Jackson has helped save?
23. Go. Can you do it like within 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, get to it. Up to it. Come back and report back to us on how it went.
How many people do you think are in the audience?
All of them.
Not enough.
638.
$4,000. Can I just take one selfie?
Absolutely, yeah.
Adorable and handsome. If I grab your leg, would that...
There we go, everybody. You're still here. You're supposed to be saving people.
You interrupted our countdown.
He does that. Anyway, what were you saying? How many people are in the audience? 638? Something like that?
Alright, so we'll say 573 are eligible to donate blood. times 3 to 23. I think the fans win.
I was under the impression there'd be no math. So the audience should donate blood?
Save lives.
Okay. We'll do that. We'll get right on that. You win!
Here's a personal question.
A personal question?
Do you know your blood type?
I don't actually. I did know it at one point. I
If
had
you
my...
donate, they'll tell you. You can make it 26.
Cool. Thank you. I gotta catch a plane. I can't. Would anybody like any other bodily fluids before we go?
Don't go there!
Just checking. Hello, sir.
Hello. Did you do any studying up? I mean, obviously, the character is extremely learned. And you also have James Spader's portrayal of being the uber nerd. Did you study up before it, or did you just rely on the writers to give you material to work with?
Well, before I started the show, I attempted to study up on it until we got, a couple episodes in, and I realized that everything I had looked at was basically useless because we were, reinventing a lot of it and bastardizing a lot more, and then a lot of it was just outright lies. So it was probably better to not try and stick to historical stuff. I found a lot more when I was writing for the show. I studied up a lot more because I was looking for source material for a story. So I studied a lot more then because I knew I could draw stuff from mythologies and histories and whatever to use in the story, and that's what I ended up doing. Cheers.
Hi, Michael.
Hey.
You are my favorite actor from the whole franchise. And you are the reason why I'm here too.
Oh, you can say.
Yeah, you're the reason why I'm here to my first convention. And I really hope...
Is your first ever convention?
It's my first convention, but I hope to see you next year in Vancouver for the Stargate Convention there next year.
Are they doing that next year?
Yes. So oh yeah, I hope you go. So I really identified with your character because I am an anthropologist, and I was always looking to see what you would say in any episode. And when you died, I was devastated, came back,
Which
naked. When you died in this series, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to be more specific.
You came back.
Also about which series, because I died in all of them too.
So my question to you is about the character, and this is my question. So all of us have learned from jobs that we had in the past, and I'm sure you learned a lot and had a lot of fun working with producers, directors, and other actors. But my question is, what do you think Michael Shanks learned from Daniel Jackson for the future? So about his profession, his personality, what you as an individual learned from the character.
Wow.
Never have that haircut again. There's a lot of blow dryer, a lot of damage from it, and I didn't have the right product. So it's probably like not to have that haircut again. Yeah. That was deep, eh?
Anyway, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Hey!
Hello.
DeLuise is really correct. You are really hot. Makes me wish I was a few years younger. Anyway.
Is this about the bodily fluid count? Because I was just kidding. Lobbing that out there just for jokers.
Yeah, let's see if you can teach us that dog tricks. Anyway. If there was anyone in history you can spend 5 minutes with talking, who would it be and why?
Anyone in history?
Would it be John Lennon or any actor, any president, or prime
Carl
minister?
Sagan. Carl Sagan.
Oh, why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because I want to know more about the universe.
Okay.
Or Jessica Alba, because she's like, Hey.
Hi. So, I grew up watching Stargate, and I loved it. And Daniel Jackson was actually my first crush. And I wanted to know how you felt like having this big female following because of this character.
Frightened. Like I feel right now. That's all I got. So scared right now I don't even know what to do with myself.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get really serious and deep for a minute.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Last year, in your pithy way, you were making fun of the audience a little bit for the caliber of our questions and wondering aloud, like, how much longer can this convention go on? Like, what other questions are you gonna throw at me, people? Like, and you asked one yourself that you did not answer, and I want to bring it back. If Daniel, are you cutting? Is this okay? If Daniel Jackson were an Easter egg, what color would he be?
If he was a what?
An Easter egg. That was your own question.
Really?
Yep.
This is last year?
It was.
Confucian answer.
Was I high?
The jury's still out.
And so you're asking me that question now?
I think it's really important. Yeah, yes.
The color of shame. I don't remember that at all. I'm going to consciously try and remember, since this is the last convention, I'm going to consciously try and remember everything I say. What?
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for being here year after year. So we go to these conventions to see you guys. Is there a convention or a person that you would pay to go see?
small gathering, but yeah, that could be one. I came all this way to actually see Hewlett on stage, and I missed it because I was having lunch in the back, so I didn't get a chance to see him, which is probably fine. Who would I pay money to go see? Yeah, I would just, I'd pay money. Not to have her talk, though. What? What's the question? Who would I pay money to go see? Cross stage. What? They have to be alive? Did you say they have to be alive?
They don't have to be alive.
They don't have to be alive. I'd go see Carl Sagan dead.
Thank you.
I hope the tickets aren't expensive. Can't imagine what the Q&A panel would sound like.
Just cute.
Probably only slightly different than this. What's up?
Hi.
Hey.
So you took a lot of pictures earlier, and you probably don't remember, but I had you hold up a little card that said...
Oh shit, you mean the picture thing?
Yeah.
I don't know what you were talking about for a second.
Oh, the photo ops. The photo ops. I had you hold up a sign that said, Sam Dan is my OTP.
Yeah.
So I know that's not canon, but what are your thoughts on Samantha Carter and Daniel Jackson's romantically, what they could have been? Because I think that they were more of a match than like Sam and Jack or Daniel and Bella. Explore that? No? Really? They're all opposites.
I'm hearing a lot of agreement from the crowd. I think in the early years of the show there was probably a bit more of a closer match, but as the show sort of evolved, I think it became more like brother and sister than they were anything else. But hey man, that's what fan fiction is for.
Well, now there's a picture that says that you embrace it, so...
Oh, so this is like some sort of blackmail.
Yeah, that's exactly.
All right, well, we'll go with that. Yeah, I think they're awesome. They should totally have sex.
You heard it here.
You know, from this chair, you know how many awkward questions I've had to answer every show? Is the woman who asked about Ascension a couple years ago, is she saying or do you think she's gone before?
She came back.
Hey!
Hi. Speaking of awkward questions, do you? No, I'm kidding. I love Saving Hope. I love it. I think it's a great show. What can you tell us about the upcoming season?
I could tell you lots, but I can't tell you shit. Yeah.
We won't tell anyone.
Oh yeah. Just tell 700 of my closest friends, yeah. We're like sitting there on Twitter right now. Yeah, there's going to be, there's a lot of interesting stuff going to happen this year, and as we wind the season toward the end, it's even going to get more interesting because we're filming that stuff right now.
I saw you were directing an episode this season?
I just finished like on Tuesday, so yeah.
How was that?
It was good. I just had to act a lot in the episode, which makes it me running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So it was fun, but it was exhausting. It was, but it was great. Good episode. I think it's a good episode.
Okay, can't wait for it to start.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yay.
Whispering.
How do they
you should mention this actually, because my question kind of had something to do after you gave representation. What was your take, or was there a discussion by producers or writers that there was a reason why he came back stand clothing with all agents' power? Why that choice?
Was there a discussion about why Daniel came back naked?
Or your take on it, of why?
It was a form of punishment for leaving the show. Like I think Daniel died so many times because of the shut the up Shanks clause. Oh, he's got another note, does he? Kill him again. I think I told the story about when Daniel supposedly dies in fire and water and how that came about. How that was revealed to me while Brad Wright, we were on a plane, and Brad Wright turned around, handed me the script and said, "Hey, read the teaser!" Says Daniel Jackson's funeral. I read it, and it just has Jack saying, you know, Daniel Jackson started this place and blah, 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 blah. And then after I'm done reading it, and it just ends with the wreath going through the wormhole, I was like, and Brad goes, "I know, hand it back." Great, huh? First season. If you think there wasn't a sport going on, you're crazy.
So pure revenge, huh?
Pure revenge, yeah. Naked in March. In a dog walking park in Surrey. My junk was so tiny. They said, "Michael, you don't have to cover it up so much." I said, "I'm not." I think it was then that we revealed there was still 2 more weeks of winter coming.
Hello.
Hey.
So, you know, a lot of times we get a little awkward around celebrities, so I was wondering, what's the best awkward celebrity story where you were the awkward one meeting someone you loved?
I don't have any awkward meeting celebrity stories. I was probably privy to one of my wife's most awkward celebrity meeting stories. We were going to go see Spider-Man, the first one, the Tobey Maguire one, the very first one. We went to the theater, and they were shooting X-Men in Vancouver, and what's his name? No, Magneto. Ian McKellen, thank you. Ian McKellen had come because one of his friends one of his friends, I think was Holmes, Ian Holmes, was in a movie that was playing, and so we'd gone to the theater just to see his friend's movie. And of course, he didn't know that it was like Cheap Tuesdays at the movie night, so there's a big lineup. And my wife, who is a huge fan of like Lord of the Rings and loves Ian McKellen, we are about to, we get off an elevator on the floor, and Ian McKellen's going to get in. And the door's open, and there's Ian McKellen standing right there. And my wife starts to right in front of him, where Ian McKellen like turned around and walked the other way. And then the best part about that, she was like saying to me, "Oh God, did I just embarrass myself? I just really embarrassed myself, didn't I?" He looked at me and walked away. And I was like, "I'd love to tell you no, but I think that's what happened." And the best part was, so we went now this long circuitous route to get to the theater lineup. And we get in the line, and Ian McKellen's just in front of us. And he turns and sees us coming, and he proceeds to cut through the line to front of the house to talk to the manager, to find people. I was going, I just want to go to the movie. I don't want to pretend I'm a big movie star. Da, da, da. And then he sees us coming, and he goes, I gotta get the fuck out of here. That weirdo lady's here. And they disappeared in the theater. And my wife was like, I actually told him that story. I went to see he and Patrick Stewart in Waiting for Godot in London. And I actually got to go backstage and meet them. And I'd met Patrick before with a Scottish play from before, but I hadn't met Ian McKellen before. I told him that story. He didn't have any great recollection, but when I told him the context, he was like going, oh, it was fine, it was fine.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for coming. I've seen you in 3 different things, obviously Stargate, and your appearance in Supernatural, and a bit of Saving Hope. Impressed by all the performances and the believability that you bring to them. Which role in your career, in anything, was the one single most challenging role for you to bring up in your remembrance of what you had to do the part convincingly? And what made it challenging for you?
Well, it wasn't Mega Snake. Because I could do horror acting throughout the entire shooting of that movie. Oh my God, this script sucks. I just had to keep doing that, and I was horror. I think, strangely enough, the toughest one, there's been a couple tricky ones. The act was probably the first season of Saving Hope, was because I had to be a guy who's in a coma on the storyline, but also he couldn't affect anything in the plot. So you get to play a person who's talking to himself a great deal, which kind of works for theater, but doesn't really work too strongly for film. And then couldn't affect the plot, which takes away your your main objective as a character or as an actor is to use the character's action to get something, but he couldn't actually use his actions to get anything. It wasn't provided that information, wasn't provided that journey. So that was really hard to play because you were just kind of like supposed to be witnessing a lot of the time, which is a tough thing to do, to sort of trying to figure out exactly what's going on in your head at certain times, or saying things out loud when you know that nobody can hear you, just weird justification. But really the trickiest one I had to do was Hawkman. Because damn man, those wings were a pain in the ass. When I made a joke on Twitter with James Bamford, because he does the stunt coordinating on Arrow and some for Legends of Tomorrow, and they have the Hawkman and woman were on the first season of Legends of Tomorrow, and I saw the beautiful CGI that they had used for Hawkman and Hawkwoman, and I was like going, really? Oh, they just get the outfit and the wings are put in afterwards. And really? Because there was nothing more awkward than walking around with a 17-foot wingspan in that outfit going, or landing on cables doing this, trying to look heroic, where you go, or when the wings actually moved, I had a 120-pound puppeteer behind me trying to move the wings, and he wasn't built, like, it's a 17-foot metal structure. So I have this puppeteer in the green screen smock, the green screen Spider-Man outfit, it's all green, oh, it was gold. Moving them like this. As I'm standing in front, and all you're hearing behind me is, I didn't know whether I felt bad for him or me, or whether to be horrified or turned on. Next awkward question.
Hello, Michael.
Hey.
SG1, far my favorite series. There was a period where you took a break from the series and then came back. I just want to know why you did that and what happened during that period.
What happened during that period?
Yeah, like why you took a break from the series.
Well, I reached the end of my contract at that particular phase, and the way that the show was kind of going, it seemed to indicate that there was less and less place for that type of character, especially when they had relegated him to this sort of linguist translator role off the top, and then everybody spoke English. And everybody and became a largely more action-oriented show, where my character wasn't really an action-oriented character. So I felt it was time to kind of move on and do other stuff. And we didn't actually know that the show was going to carry on for one more season at that point. I just knew that this was the end of the journey for me. And then when it got picked up, I came back and did the guest spots and went on to do other stuff. And then they were coming back for another year, and Rick was taking a giant step backwards, and they wanted somebody that they could trust to pull off the dialogue and take a larger role in the show going forward. So that was when they came to me and sort of said, hey, do you want to come back on for season 7, which they thought was going to be the end. And then we went on and on.
I think we're all happy you came back.
Thank you.
Hey. Just want to say, you and Amanda have been my idols since I was probably 13, and you guys are just...
I won't ask you how old you are now.
28. So I have seen everything you've ever been in, and you are amazing guest star actors. Smallville, Sanctuary, Supernatural. Is there any show, Burn Notice of course, is there any show that you prefer to be a guest star on?
Any show that I would prefer to be a guest star on? No, it's usually about the role. You know, if there's interesting, I mean, listen, we're actors, we'll just work to work, but like Mega Snake.
I've seen that.
You know, like ones like that we choose roles like Mega Snake to really stretch our wings as actors. Like it's not easy to act. Oh my God, Snake.
You wore a lot of flannel.
Yeah. Mega Snake. That's the problem with the internet. That shit just is out there forever. Well, if you bought it off Amazon, that's your funeral, man. You were duly warned. And if you still bought that, if you didn't watch the YouTube version with the Bulgarian subtitles at the bottom, don't come crying to me. Only cost you 2 hours out of your life. It took me like 4 weeks to shoot that shit. So what was the question?
Is there
that show that we did. I don't watch a lot of TV. I know that sounds kind of funny for somebody who does it. I just don't have time. My wife keeps me updated on what to watch. Like the only series I watched recently, I watched the whole second season of Bloodline, which that's hey, there's one. I'd love to be on Bloodline, but it's only, I think they're only doing the 3rd and then they're done. Because Florida expensive to shoot in now apparently. So, but shows like that are much more slow burning, character driven. I've never watched Game of Thrones. I know that's probably takes away my nerd card right there. Well, oh, it was on me. Well, doesn't everybody die in that show? Of course. Oh, there's Shanks is gonna die. Oh, look at Sean Bean. Oh, they killed him. So yeah, I think something like that. But certainly something that's, as I said, more dramatically interesting as an actor. So whatever that is. Okay, thank you.
Hi. So you're in so many things I can't quite keep up with everything that you're in, but what I see you tend to die a lot. Smallville, Stargate, Sanctuary, 24, the list goes on and on.
I never died in 24. I was arrested.
I'm wrong. Okay.
I gotta find them where I can find them. There's not that many.
My question's 2 parts. you choose those roles or just frequently given them? And secondly, which character death is your favorite and why?
Which character death? I don't choose them because usually when I step into like especially like a recurring role on a show, I don't know what's coming, and sometimes they don't either. And obviously with guest characters, you have, there's like three choices you have. Either they are satisfied with what they get and they leave because they're not around next week. They die or they're arrested because they're the bad guy. That's usually the way out for a guest star on the show. So I don't choose them so much as they usually end up having an end of some kind, especially as a guest star. Burn Notice was probably my favorite character part, because what started out as I didn't know what was going to happen with the character. What started out as just an antagonist and the bad guy of the week. Then you got to strip that layer off and see him as a protagonist, and you got to see that everything he was just what had happened to him, and that he was actually a good person who had been forced to do bad things based on bad things that happened to him in his life. So you got to actually see this full, turning around of the mirror to see this person in a completely different light where it became sympathetic, and then they had to die. Otherwise, and they have those kind of endings because they like to have the emotional twist, right? We do it on Saving Hope all the time. Obviously, Smallville, the same thing, when Aquaman dies, and so the characters can learn something from his death and move forward. And the same thing with Burn Notice, it allows character development for Michael, the lead, to learn something from this experience and drive the plot forward for him. So they usually end up being very effective emotional moments. So they're great and they have an impact on the audience. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Michael, I wanted to thank you for creating an amazing, iconic character of Daniel Jackson and for the years of pleasure that you have given to all of the Stargate fans. I wanted to ask you what you think it is about the character Daniel that connected with so many people worldwide that made him such an iconic character.
I don't know. I think that's the attachment that individuals have. I always say it's unique to the experience of the individual. We all have a certain idea in our heads about, we all come from a certain backstory, and our backstory fuels, it's like looking at a painting. We all see something different when we look on a painting based on our backstory. But if there's one thing I can say about Daniel was that people seem to get connected to, is he was the audience's perspective was through his eyes from the movie, because he was the little boy who got to walk through the great science fiction device. And for our audience, not knowing, not all being special forces trained and having, being super fighters and all this other stuff, that they got to carry along in his pocket a little bit at times to sort of see these new universes through big wide eyes. And I think that's what the people saw in the character was enough association, childlike association with themselves. The little kid in them was going, "That's so cool!" And Daniel was going, "That's so cool!" So I think if there was one, 5 minutes now. So if there was one attachment the audience had to him, it was probably something to do with that. I would think, anyway. But like I said, everybody has their own unique experiences, so it can vary. And I'm giving blood and semen right after.
Hello, Michael. So there's a bunch of us here that have been to these conventions for Stargate since the very beginning, or close to it, from the Hussey Handbook to all of the stuff, the Puff and Ruffle, all of that good stuff. So we're very nostalgic and a little weepy, I'll be honest. Because there are a fair amount of newbies here. Is there like one story that I know some of us have heard a million times and you're probably sick of telling it, but it would just be like the big grand hurrah, just to do one more time, tell like the Puff and Ruffle or some old story that you might have told a million times, but we're feeling nostalgic. Puff and Ruffle, super swell, but but whatever you wanted to do would be great.
Puff and Ruffle. I haven't got another Puff and Ruffle anyway. I do have the Chris Judge Pooh story though.
Yay!
guys like to play some pranks on occasion. And one particular day, he took, the soft Pillsbury dough, cookie dough. He took the tube of that, crushed it up, and left it in Ben Browder's toilet. He called it the turd burglar. Someone breaks into your trailer, takes a dump, and leaves. But then he didn't put any toilet paper in it with it either. So we sat there, I sat there with him as he told me what he had done, and we sat on his trailer stoop waiting for Ben to scream or come out, and we heard nothing from Ben's trailer after he went back in, and we just waited, nothing happened. We finally opened the door of his trailer and looked, and Ben was just sitting there on his front step, pale as a ghost. And we're giggling, going, dude, what, didn't you see that? And he's like, oh yeah, man. What, did you do that? Chris is like, yeah. And Ben's like, I was just sitting here wondering, who the fuck would do something like that? So, a little later the same day, my daughter had been over for a visit and had been eating chocolate pudding. So I figured I'd do something to get Chris back. And so there was all these containers of chocolate pudding around my trailer. So I took toilet paper, I balled it up, and I cleaned out all the chocolate pudding cups. And I went into Chris's room, and I put all this chocolate pudding covered toilet paper all over the floor of his room. And I sat in my trailer, and Chris was in his armor that day. In his Jaffa armor. So whenever there was rap around there, Chris would get out of there like he was shot out of a gun, so he could change and be in his car going home or whatever, wherever he was going, like in 30 seconds. So I hear him, I could tell he was rapped because he was sprinting. The guy who didn't move for anything all day, all of a sudden he's sprinting to his trailer. And he goes in, I hear him rummaging around for like 2 minutes, and he gets changed, all of a sudden comes out, and the door of his trailer slams, and he's on his way to his car. He stuck my nose. I said, dude! He's like, what? I'm like, didn't you see all the shit paper all over your floor? And he goes, oh, that was you? I thought it fell out of my suit. I have not slept well since then.
Folks, I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to interrupt the tagline.
No. Who leaves dirty toilet paper all over their floor? And who has it fall out of their suit so often that it's no big deal? I'm done.
It's Michael Shanks, everybody.
I'm done, everybody. Thank you guys for all these years. It's been great. Thank you, Chicago. Thanks, guys.
I was tempted to send him over there with a mic, just to hear that electrifying scream again.
Yeah.
So there's still a few things going on in the day. There's a bunch of signings going on and
Photo ops
photo ops still going on.